This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
James, nobody's heckling me while I'm doing the radio show here at KSR Bar and Grill, but it's a little different when you're warming up in the bullpen. Somebody's always going to shout something at you, probably starting with your uniform number.
Yeah, you learn to have some thick skin, because if you don't, you won't make it very long. That's for sure.
Yeah. Did you ever see anybody go back at the fans? You know, not in a way like Patrick Beverly did the other day or yesterday, where he threw a ball into the stands. He was aiming it at a player but missed. But, you know, I mean, you're told to not react, you know, but every once in a while it must be a little difficult to not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, the hecklers are going to heckle and they're going to do their thing. You got to just do your thing. And you probably asked those guys, well, would you rather be up in the stands yelling at somebody or down here on the mound? I think they'd all choose rather be on the mound. So you just take that for what it is and get back to work.
Well, there's a little taste of home up on the TVs here at the KSR Bar and Grill is showing a race from Oaklawn, so it makes me almost feel like I'm back home for a moment. James, it's Derby weekend. We've been here twice for Derby weekend 2019 as well. I don't think that was the case in 2016. Are you into horse racing at all?
So I've been to Oaklawn a couple times. I've not been very successful. Robert, he made the trip up there, and so he's going to the game and then going over to the Derby. So I think he's a big race fan, but he's made quite. It makes for quite the weekend if you plan accordingly. But I'm going to be at home with kiddos watching on TV. Robert
being James's father, who of course he works with. That's right. And I know Coach Pittman has said he's going to be coming up here for the Derby. I don't know if he's visiting baseball because he's with a family that's got a horse that's running in the race. Hey, James, the team that Arkansas is playing here, Kentucky, they play differently offensively than just about any other team in the SEC. You know, they're gonna move runners around. If they first, you got to get men on base for them to be able to do the things that they want to do. You know, and I guess that's the first thing you can look at. Well, all right, you got a team that likes to steal a lot of bases. They're going to move, run. They're going to bunt. You know, they're going to hit and run. One way to keep them from doing that is to, you know, I guess it's too simplistic to say, is not let them get on base.
Yeah, that's true. And the problem that you have is, you know, forces you to throw the ball, forces you to be accurate and to, you know, not make mistakes, you know, just doing the basic things. And, you know, I always hated a team that would run because as a pitcher, it's just kind of another issue to have to worry about. I'd rather the team, you know, that just wants to hit for power, and then you can kind of focus more on the hitter. But, you know, we've seen PFPs hurt a lot of teams, you know, the pitcher stealing their position. We've seen it come to bite us, whether it be bunting or stealing this or that. So it's just another variable that I think makes it difficult.
Well, and part of it is not necessarily like the small ball that they play, the bunts, the steals, the hit and run, the taking the extra base. It's the thought in the back of the opponent's mind, you know, that there could be something happening almost on any pitch with a base runner or two base runners. And, you know, they're trying to take your focus away from the batter, and that's always one thing that I feel like Dave Van Horn preaches. You know, as far as pitching is concerned, he lets Matt Hobbs worry about that. But you can see they don't hold runners on in some situations in ninth innings when other teams will. They'll let guys take a base because they want the focus to be on the batter.
Yeah, and for some guys, too, especially coming in the bullpen, you know, you got to be, you know, 1-3, 1-4 to the plate, or guys are just going to steal on you. It's just math of how quick the catcher can, you know, throw the guy out at second or third. And some guys, their natural delivery is not 1-3, 1-4. It's more like 1-5 or 1-6. And so then you're thinking about, now I got to be quick to the plate, and then now maybe my mechanics, my timing is a little bit off. And so, you know, most coaches, I think these days, you know, have guys on the clock. They're forcing them to be quicker to the plate, you know, to try to build up that muscle memory. But some guys it's tougher than others, especially big guys who maybe don't have as much fast twitch. And so it's just another variable to be concerned with.
You know, I think Kentucky would like to have the rules that they play with in professional baseball, where you can only have the two pickoff moves, and you know, where you can have a third, but if you don't get him out on the third try, then it's a balk, and he just gets the base. You know, I mean, I don't know if college baseball will ever come around to that kind of a rule. You know, because college baseball is a holdout from some of the rules changes that have been instituted in in professional baseball, and not just the majors, but the minors as well. You know, it would be different as a pitcher if you are held to 2 pickoffs. It just would.
And you know what's funny about that? One of the hardest things to do, I always thought, is the long hold. You know, where the pitcher is trying to hold the guy on, and they always teach you, you know, to come set, and you're trying to kind of freeze the guy at first and mix up your time. But for me, I kind of wanted to just come set and go, and so the other variables. Okay, now I'm holding for a long time. Am I going to pick? Am I trying to like deke my pick to where it doesn't look like it's obvious that I'm going to pick off? And a lot of people didn't know this about me, but my left eye is actually blind, and so I can't see the runner at first. So I would have a signal with the catcher where he would have a pinky out on his sign hand that would tell me when I needed to pick, because I frankly could never see him. And that was something that, fortunately, the scouting report never really got out on that. But if you were ever on first base on me, I don't see you over there. So if you have a huge lead, the catcher better let me know.
That is something you got to hide from opponents, isn't it? Because absolutely. How have you always been blind in one eye?
Yeah, I had an accident when I was 4, and it was at a fort going by, actually. So I have very, very minimal vision in my left eye, and so that was one of the reasons I couldn't hit very well, is because I couldn't, curveballs especially that kind of like start at you, I'd lose them, and then they'd kind of reappear. So I tried to swing, from the left side. That didn't work, and so I just said, I'll just pitch. Well, I didn't think about it as I got older. Holding runners became a real problem.
It's fascinating to me to think about this, because so much about sports, not just baseball, but sports with a ball, any kind of a sport, is based upon your vision. But this is something that must have felt natural to you, because if it happened at age 4, you learned to throw a baseball with having vision in just one. It wasn't like you had to necessarily adjust, but did it ever make it difficult to pitch?
A little bit, yeah. I changed my mechanics where my head was a little bit more straight on, and I always threw from the right side of the rubber instead of the left side, because your body's a little bit more open. You're not turned so far. I actually threw a lot better from the left side because there was more of an angle. It was a better breaking ball kind of coming across, kind of more of that sweeper type move, but I frankly couldn't see well enough. When I got into pro ball, they forced me to wear goggles as a liability protection, because they said, well, if the line drive takes out your right eye, we could technically be on the hook for, long-term disability, because now you can't see out of either. So I had to wear these big protective goggles, and I couldn't see out of them, and it was a whole fit that I had with the organization. But, luckily to me, it happened when I was young enough that my brain kind of adjusted. It wasn't like my eyes had already learned how to operate, and then I had to relearn. So I never really knew anything different being 4 when it happened. But, it was interesting trying to keep that under wraps as time went on.
James Teague with us from the Teague Law Firm, former Arkansas pitcher. And you said a word earlier that I think just became popularized in the state of Arkansas based on the Peyton Holt deke from last weekend against Florida, Game 1 Saturday. It's a term that I use because I'd heard it before, but not everybody had heard that term. The deke heard round the world. Everybody asks, like, we've never seen anything like that before. I'm assuming you hadn't seen anything like that before either, but it's a play that will stand out in our memories. I don't think I'll ever forget it.
No, I couldn't figure out what happened. I was watching at home, and I thought, why did he not run? What's going on? I went back and saw it, and I was like, oh, that's genius. We never practiced that. I never saw anybody at all the time I played practice that or do that. So I think it just caught him off guard. It was not something that you really look for. I know some guys will kind of deke up high and then they'll basket catch it to kind of throw off the timing, but I've never seen kind of the arm up and down deke in the way that he did it. But, yeah, I mean, in hindsight, really won the game if you think about it.
It did. There's no doubt it did. I mean, it kept the tying run from scoring. It was amazing. And now I saw it on Wednesday. I don't know who it was, but it was one of the pitchers that's in the outfield shagging during BP, and he even tried a deke. He practiced the deke. Now everybody wants to try doing this, and I can just imagine. Be careful. Be careful. Broken noses can happen.
Yeah. The last time I was out in the outfield trying to shag balls and be a superstar out there, I wasn't paying attention, and me and Ben Attendee had a collision, and I realized that would have been my scholarship and my one-way ticket out of Arkansas. So I decided that I was going to stay away from the outfield and let him do his work. God forbid I roll his ankle or something, and I hit the road.
Well, it would have been better than like running into Chris John Wilkerson, right? I don't know who would have gotten the worst end of that. He was built like a brick house.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone. Maybe Spanberger. I was with him. He was a strong guy, but Wilkerson. Once we were messing around in the locker room, kind of wrestling, and that went on for about 5 seconds, and I realized this guy's way too strong for me. I'm not messing with this guy anymore.
And of course, James is with the Teague Law Firm and has been so for a few years now. The Teague Law Firm has been around for nearly 30 years, helping you, your family, and friends through tough times. They can help with any family law matter, anything involving criminal law. They can help with estate needs. And, James, I know sometimes, you get two parties that sit down and they need to be able to hammer out some kind of an agreement, and you can help out with negotiations too.
Yeah, exactly. I think one thing that's really important is having context for what would the judge do. If we were to go before a judge and try this case, what would he do? And that really requires an understanding of the law and being in court a lot. In our business, we're in court all the time. Last couple of weeks, I haven't even seen my dad that much because he's in one court, I'm in another, and, vice versa, back and forth. And so it's to really understand the law and know what are the parameters or what is the likely outcome if this goes to court. And then how can we use that knowledge to then negotiate a result that's either as good or better than that result? And I think that's something that we do a good job at. And, just based on the experience and the court time that we have, being familiar with the judges, familiar with their staff, and knowing, okay, here's the likely outcome. How do we make sure we achieve this or better in terms of negotiating this case?
James, always enjoy the visits with you. Thank you very much. We'll be looking forward to talking again next week when we have our final home series of the regular season.
Yeah, we got our hands full with Kentucky, but I'm interested in seeing Hagan take on the challenge and keep doing what he's doing. But we'll talk soon.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.